Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. This is a series of spotlights on remarkable exit planning advisors from across the country. And joining me on this segment is HB Pasley. He's the founder of Ideal Client Experience. HB, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mark. Your invitation was well received. I'm glad to be here.
Great to have you. HB, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically let us know who are the types of clients that you specialize in working with and helping.
Great question. I've been a coach my entire life. I discovered this when I was only 16 years old. I got my life-saving certification, and I thought it would be cool to sit in the chair and spin the whistle on my finger. But I found out that I really loved and was great at teaching swimming lessons. Probably because I failed beginning swimming lessons 4 times in a row. So I'm naturally empathetic. So after 4 decades of working in a lot of creative communication, I've published many books, I've published hundreds of songs, and I've been on thousands of stages. I learned the art of leading a team, focusing, messaging, and just getting things done. Event work is very much about getting things done on time. So today, the way I leverage all of that collected experience is I work with business owners who are usually hitting their head on growth problems, but they're the kind of business owners who need to take care of people. They know that client care is job number one, whether their client experience is 5 minutes long or 5 years long. And so my specialty is sort of the relational IQ and the process IQ that helps business owners in those spaces do better and better over time.
Yeah, one of the real objectives of this series is to really shine the light on the importance of exit planning, because from what I understand, a lot of business owners really don't know that's a thing or don't know really where to even start. Is that what you find when business owners reach out to you? How much thought do they put into the exiting of their business?
Well, you said it right. It's tragic that exit planning is often deferred to a crisis moment in a business. The moment when I have to leave or I have to pull back or my position mandatorily has to change. And then it's like calling the emergency room and having to pay high dollars for what you could have done a little bit of along the way. I wish it wasn't the case. I do find that there are many thoughtful business owners, though, if given an opportunity to think about, okay, what's going to make your business more valuable over time? That's a different question. It's not, are you ready to exit? You talk to a business owner who's 35 or 45, they don't want to talk about it because it's like an end of life campaign. But if I ask, would you like to build value within your business so that as it grows over time, it becomes more valuable in the marketplace? Most business owners will say yes. And since I work with mostly service professionals, this is a very specific question for them because they're not always accumulating assets or manufactured inventory. They are the widget. They don't make widgets, they are the widget. So this conversation is especially potent for service professionals, and I believe you got to start early, just understanding the basic principles, and then you won't be caught off guard when it's your time.
That's a really great distinction on building value and what it really does for you. Can you kind of unpack that a little bit? And for folks that don't really know what exit planning looks like, can you kind of tell us, like, what's your role when you come in and work with the business owner? What do you help them get together? Can you give us a 10,000-foot view?
Yeah, and I'll go fast, and raise your hand if you get bored, Mark. I can see you, okay? So at one level, exit planning or building value is very much an algebra formula over time. And most people have touched this at some measure or another. One part of the algebra is simply measuring what is your cash flow and assets on hand. What is the actual just tangible value that your accountant could help you discover? So that's one thing in the algebra equation. The other thing is this mysterious X. It's the multiplier that people talk about. You've heard this, right? Yeah. I'm sure you've been interviewing other exit planning professionals who are much bigger nerds than I am. I concentrate on the X. The X is the kind of stuff that makes your home attractive, not just the land or the valuation the real estate guy gives it. When somebody comes into the home, they want to know, does it have a view? Is it clean? Does it feel inviting? Is it well put together and laid out? It's all this functional stuff. Same thing for a business. There's more than just the cash value. There's things like, do you have a team that can sustain the work when you're not there anymore? Do you have a process that's so easy to follow? We could literally take your team out and put a new team in and they could still do the job. And then finally, do you have a purpose that's so clear that your location in the marketplace is easy to find and your customer base already finds you easy to get to and valuable? So there's a lot more complicated ways to get the X going, but if you get people, process, and purpose starting to work together, you kind of establish that. Now, I don't mean to be long-winded, Mark, but my role primarily is coaching those high-level ideas to make sure business owners are setting important annual goals in all those arenas. And then we have to do the work of the heart. So I'm much less of a technician in my particular coaching function than I am a heart coach. So with a business owner, whether they're early or late in their development, questions like, what do you really want out of this business right now is a great way to start, because there's all kinds of answers to that question. And then I say, well, 10 years from now, what kind of things do you want from the business then? Well, if you leave the business and are transitioning where you're only part-time, what do you want from the business then? These kinds of heart questions usually help people start to solve the big stuff before they start hiring the technicians or the valuation expert or somebody who's going to go into the nitty-gritty and actually take their business to market. So I don't want to keep talking. I'm afraid I'll get long-winded. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. And it reminds me of begin with the end in mind. So it also implies that there's no bad time to start doing this. Like, it doesn't need to just be 1 year, 2 year before you plan on exiting. You should be doing this like when you start your business, it sounds like.
You should. As a matter of fact, there's no such thing as business planning without the idea of increasing value, which means there's no such thing as business planning that doesn't have exit planning embedded. We just don't always know what to call it. But I say this when I'm working with clients, and I post this in places when I have an opportunity online, that exit planning before it does anything else is a matter of the heart. People who are leading their businesses have to know that they're in charge of how their business grows, healthy or unhealthy, fast or slow. And they also get to decide how much do they really want it to be worth, and how much do they want their team to be able to function without them. All those things are decided early in a business plan, not late.
HB, how did you go from swimming lessons to working with entrepreneurs on their exit plans and value building? Like, what was your inspiration? What inspired you to get into this field specifically?
Well, that's a good question. And this will be in the last few years, actually. So I'm new to the arena of exit planning and formal business coaching. So, I had almost 4 decades of experience in publishing and in nonprofit leadership and leading teams internationally, doing a lot of things like that. But about 3 or 4 years ago, I got involved with financial advisory services. And one of the firms I began to work with as a development expert did a lot of work in transition planning. And I would sit around the table with these business owners and listen to the financial advisory team, start to help them think through the issues of, what do you want to keep? What do you want to leave? How will it affect the team? How will this affect your wife? How does this affect your personal financial situation? And I realized that it was such a tender, important, and I was going to say, it's so specific, but it's such a heart issue. I realized that the owners needed technical answers, but they were suffering with heart level questions. These are very deep and personal questions. And my 4 decades in work has been a lot of consultative profession, working as a counselor and a coach my whole journey. So I began to be really interested in transition planning as a way to help adults make some adult decisions, but get some high relational IQ included. I was afraid that many people would go into exit planning and just think they could hire 3 engineering specialists and get everything that they needed. And I took a different approach. I thought, well, I know those engineers. They're good guys and girls, but I would like to help you with some of the bigger picture and heart level stuff, so you're more confident when you're beginning to drive the bus on where you want the engineers to take you.
Right on. Before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think to ask you that you feel is really important to share with business owners working on this today?
No, you do a very good interview, by the way. The first thing that pops in my mind, though, is that for any business owner that's listening to this process, you could go and Google stuff on exit planning. You could even find a few books and resources on it. I think that's fine. But what I find is that knowledge is easy to get to these days, but wisdom is not. So I'm always trying to encourage people, make a personal connection, because the wisdom you need to safely navigate the idea of transition planning, or even the wisdom you need to safely grow your business, because it's often forest for the trees for business owners, is probably embodied in a person. So if you've never hired a business consultant, an advisor, or a coach before, this might be your time. After all, it's not a permanent thing. It's just a season of engaging somebody who might look at your challenges from a different angle. And Mark, I think that's ultimately the best way for people to start to think about exit planning or growing their business. It's who can I build a relationship with that for a season will help me think better, get more strategic, and make some good decisions moving forward. So I always think there's a person involved in the answer to this one.
Really great insight. HB, for business owners listening who would like to speak with you, how do they find you and connect?
You're so generous, by the way. Thank you. It's very easy. I operate a coaching and advisory program at idealclientexperience.com. And you can tell by the name that I focus again on business owners who are trying to not only discover their ideal client, because it's a mess if you just attract everybody, but also how to create such a great experience that those clients become advocates over time. So idealclientexperience.com. If you pop in there, not only can you read quick background on me, you'll be able to click a button and set up a 30-minute consultation as soon as you want and as fast as you want. And I do those initial conversations for free because I think everybody deserves a listening ear when they get into stuff that feels like the deep end of the pool, where you've gotten in over your head a little bit. It's just nice to be able to chat with somebody. So I do those freely and without reservation.
HB, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks for the opportunity to do the interview, and I wish you well in all of your efforts to help other business people and leaders to firm up their IQ across a variety of subjects, I understand.
That was HB Pasley. He's the founder of Ideal Client Experience. And this segment was brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their practices and businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.